All right. Okay, so my name is Kenzie Osborne. I'm a natural nutrition clinical practitioner and a registered health coach with rxRecourse. So today we're going to be talking about sleep, which is an exciting topic. And I will be just sharing my screen with you as well, so you can see and follow along. We are using Mentimeter today, which will allow you to interact and ask questions along the way from an anonymous standpoint. So if you want to just go ahead and scan or use the code, if you're unable to do either, then that's okay. You can also participate just through the chat feature as well on the Teams link here. Okay, once you're on, if you can just give the little like button so I know you're there, and then we can get started. If you're not able to do that right now, again, that's okay. The code will be at the top for the remainder of the session, so you can always hop on then. And again, if you are unable to do that, then you can definitely just go through the chat. Okay, so on average, before we start this, this lovely sleep workshop, on average, how many hours of sleep do you get in a night? Okay. So it looks like 6 to 8 plus. Nice. That's awesome. Good. Okay, so it seems like we're getting a good amount of sleep, most of us. So before I start this presentation, I do just want to preface by saying that at rxRecourse, we are not doctors or sleep experts here. However, I am a registered health coach, and I do have plenty of experience helping people achieve their health and wellness goals from a holistic standpoint. And so we do understand the consequences of lack of sleep and some of the benefits that sleep can have, especially on our overall wellness, our physical activity, mood, behavior, energy levels. We don't know everything about sleep, but we do have lots of strategies for you in this session to give a try. And hopefully you'll find something during this session that's going to be helpful for you, so you can make some actionable changes and hopefully get a few more hours of sleep in there, or at least some better quality sleep. So today we are going to talk about influences on sleep. So what external factors may influence your sleep? The different stages of sleep. So we'll talk about specific kind of the cycle of sleep that we go through each night. The difference between good quality sleep and not so good quality sleep. You may have some ideas, or you may have experienced something like that in the past. Benefits of good sleep, what may influence poor quality sleep and what that may look like. And then, of course, the whole purpose of this workshop today is to help you improve your sleep quality altogether, whether it be in length of time or whether it be in quality. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what influences our sleep. Okay, so in terms of regularity, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but it is really important that we do have regular sleep patterns. So relatively speaking, every day, we're going to sleep at about the same time and we're waking up at about the same time. It's also important to keep the pre-bedtime routine the same most nights, and the wake time routine about the same. So if you generally like to read before bed, then keeping that fairly consistent is going to be helpful. And in the morning, if you like to get up, maybe you like to go for a walk, or there's something that you do in the morning, you jump in the shower, that can also be helpful in terms of keeping a regular and healthy sleep pattern. we're going to talk a little bit about some sensory influences as well. So different senses do actually impact our sleep. Maybe there are some things that you've already tried. If you want to pop something in the comments here and let me know some things that you may have tried in terms of sensory influences. So maybe you've tried reducing the temperature in your room. So usually dark and cool rooms are best for sleep. Maybe you've listened to some white noise, some brown noise. I don't know if anyone's heard of brown noise, but I personally love it. I don't know why, but I find it very relaxing. Smells, so maybe you've had some lavender essence or something like that. Yes, a weighted blanket. So in the comments for sure, that can help a little bit with a nice sensation there for sleep. Brown noise, I don't know much about it in terms of what it actually does in the brain. It is supposed to be helpful in some sort of connection for when we're getting a lot of thoughts coming at once. It's supposed to help reduce those thoughts that are coming. It is being currently being studied in helping some people who have ADHD. So if you just search brown noise online, you'll be able to find what it is. It's like a really soft fan noise. Like if you were sleeping right next to a fan, that's what it would be. Anyways, I would recommend giving it a shot. I gave it a shot. I like it. I am not completely knowledgeable about the specific things that it does within our brain, but it's becoming quite popular right now, especially in the ADHD kind of community. Anyways. Okay, some other things here, our daily consumption of sleep. Okay, so our daily consumption of sleep, also our daily consumption of food. So how much sleep are we getting in terms of quantity? How much sleep are we getting? 6 hours? Are we getting 8 hours? Is it all over the place? Are some nights we're getting 3, some nights we're getting 8? It's about taking and getting enough sleep. Also with food. So there are certain foods that can help with sleep and some certain foods that may not help with sleep. Okay, the more obvious ones, which we'll talk about later, so things like caffeine and alcohol that do impact our sleep, but also things like leucine. So leucine is a protein. Tryptophan is also a protein, and both of those are suspected to help facilitate sleep as well. So that's why maybe a little bit like a glass of milk before bed may help, a little bit of cottage cheese before bed. It does contain those proteins that may be able to help. And there may be certain foods for you as well. Having a bunch of ice cream before bed may not be the best thing because it does contain a lot of sugars. So being aware of what you're eating and how that may also impact sleep. Popcorn and licorice affect your sleep. That may do it. Both of those are pretty high in refined carbohydrates, so those sugars may be affecting your ability to fully relax and get into kind of a sleep mode there. Okay. Physical activity. So in both ways, a lack of physical activity or the timing of physical activity. So if we're doing physical activity 30 minutes before bed, we just go for a run, that may not be the best in getting our body prepared for sleep. So usually we want, 1 to 3 hours break between our physical activity and our sleep, just to be able to settle down, get into a relaxed mode. And it's also important that we do get enough enough physical activity throughout the day so that we are tired, that we are ready for a good night's sleep, okay? Not necessarily being sedentary all day. That may in itself influence sleep, which then we get into that cycle, right? So we're sedentary, then we don't get a good sleep, too tired to do exercise, sedentary, not good sleep, and it gets into this cycle that's a little bit, can be challenging to break. Okay, thank you. I do not see anybody in the waiting room on my end. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing out on anybody. Okay, All right. So in terms of, yeah, so we had a comment here, popcorn and licorice is really good. I know, but maybe not right before bed, right? So timing of that. And lastly here, we have stress, okay? So, of course, our relationship with stress, lower levels of stress may be better in promoting a calm space, a little bit easier for us to get some good sleep. And then more stress, of course, when a lot of things are going on in our life, our mind may be running a little bit, and we may find it a little bit more challenging to get that adequate sleep and to get that high quality sleep that we want. So we're going to start looking at the stages of sleep here, okay? So there are, for the first 3 stages is called non-rapid eye movement. Stage 1 and 2 is essentially where our muscles are beginning to relax, our breathing slows down, our eye movement slows, brain waves, again, those are slowing down, and our body temperature starts to decrease. So this is happening in stage 1 and 2. Stage 3, that's characterized by a deeper state of sleep. Your heart rate and breathing continues to slow down, and the muscles, again, become a little bit more relaxed. Has anyone been a little bit like half asleep and maybe had like this weird muscle twitch happen that seems to come out of nowhere? Has anyone had that ever happen before? Any comments? Yes. Okay. So when our muscles start to relax and or the feeling of falling, we are getting into this complete relaxation mode where our neurons are still firing, but our muscles aren't really doing anything. So we may have these movements of, our arm may move suddenly, or our leg may move suddenly. So this is us getting into that deeper state of sleep. Okay. So in this stage 3, there may be some brief moments of those higher frequency brain, like electrical activity, and that may be causing some of the sudden movements there. Okay. So the next stage of sleep is rapid eye movement. This is arguably the most important stage of sleep, okay? So this lasts about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. And as the name suggests, when your eyes are shut, they are starting to move back and forth quite quickly beneath your eyelids, okay? Has anyone ever seen someone sleeping and maybe saw some eye movement just from the eyelids? Maybe you've seen that before. Breathing rate, heart rate, and blood pressure at this point will start to increase a little bit. And then at this time during the rapid eye movement, this is when you start to dream, okay? At this time, your legs, your limbs, your arms, they essentially become paralyzed. So you're not really moving at this stage. And in terms of why this is, it's believed that it is meant to just prevent you from actually physically acting on what you are dreaming about. Okay. The duration of each of these rapid eye movement cycles increases as the night progresses. A lot of studies have also associated rapid eye movement to memory, and basically this process of converting anything that you've learned in that day into long-term memories. So this is where sleep becomes really important in retaining learned information and building long-lasting memories. So if someone's really not getting a lot of sleep, they may actually have trouble remembering what they've learned. Hence why when you're studying for a big exam, it's not the best idea to pull an all-nighter because you're actually missing out on that brain process of taking that information, learning that information, storing that information, and creating that knowledge that you can then use, okay? As you age, that duration of REM, so rapid eye movement, will decrease, and that causes you to spend a little bit more time in those first 3 stages that we talked about, okay? Question one, oh, sorry. Okay, so good quality sleep. So within a good quality sleep, we're looking at less than 30 minutes of sleep. Okay. So you're getting to sleep within 30 minutes or less. You're waking up less than once. So if you find that you have to go to the bathroom a lot during the night, or you're waking up a lot of the night, that may be an indicator of poor quality sleep, and there can be strategies to help reduce some of those. We're looking for 7 or more hours of sleep in a night. So at the beginning, I asked how long you were sleeping, and everyone said over 6 hours. So that's awesome. We were 6 to 8, and there was some that were 8 plus. So if we are getting 7 or more hours of sleep, that's great. You should feel rested and energized. Give me a thumbs up on Menti if you feel rested and energized more than 50% of the time. We got 1. That's good. 2. And 1 for no. Okay, so a good quality sleep. So we got 50-50 on whether we're getting good quality sleep or not. So good quality sleep should have us leaving rested and energized in the morning. Now, if you're not feeling rested or energized, it could be from sleep. It could also be from a number of other factors as well. So making sure that your physical activity, stress levels, nutrition, sleep, all of it encompasses, how we're feeling throughout the day. So if all of those aspects are aligned and well, then we should feel rested and energized. If one of those is out of balance, we may feel a little bit more fatigued, less energy, maybe a lower mood as well. Okay, so the benefits of good quality sleep. So the first one is brain reorganization. So again, when people are pulling all-nighters before a test or before a deadline, that can actually significantly impact our brain's ability to reorganize, learn all that information that we've had through the day. So during sleep, our brain reorganizes, it recharges itself, it removes all the waste that's been accumulated through the day. It's a really important process. Improved memory, right? So again, with this process of learning, this process of taking anything that has happened during that day and storing it into long-term memory, that happens during our sleep. Okay, reduces fatigue and can increase our energy. So it kind of clears all the cobwebs, for lack of a better word, in our brain. It can reduce mental fatigue that's happening, and it can also help regulate metabolic function. So this is why if we are not getting good sleep, you may find it is more difficult to lose weight. You may find that you are even gaining a little bit more weight because our sleep is actually involved in our metabolic function as well. Okay. So poor quality sleep. So a couple of factors that may lead to poor quality sleep: irregular sleep patterns. So making sure that you are having about the same time bedtime every day, that you are waking up at roughly the same time every day, that there's a routine before, that there's a routine in the morning. If things are all out of line or it's inconsistent from a day-to-day basis, it can have an impact on your ability to just unwind in a common and in a familiar way. Right. So if you are asking your body to go to sleep at 11 p.m. one night and then 8 p.m. the other night and then 1 a.m. the next night, there's no pattern. And as humans, we are creatures of habit, and we like things to be habitual. We like to have a routine. And same thing with sleep. So we like to have a solid bedtime and a solid wake time. It's the same thing if you have a separate routine on weekdays as you do on weekends. Of course, it may change a little bit, but try to keep it relatively the same. For example, if you wake up for work at 7 on weekdays and you go to bed at 10 say. So you know, bedtime 10, wake time 7. And then Friday night, it's like 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday night, 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday's probably not going to be fun. And that can affect your sleep throughout the week, right? So even those 2 days can have an impact on your regular sleep time. So on the weekend, trying your best to keep a regular sleep pattern that is close to your weekday pattern as well. Okay. A couple other things here. So caffeine and alcohol. So caffeine is a psychoactive stimulant. It does stay in our system, active in our system for about 5 to 6 hours. Okay. At the end of that, still 50% of that caffeine is circulating. After 12 hours, still 25% of our caffeine is still stimulating. So this is why it may have an impact on our ability to fall asleep, especially if you are having caffeine later in the day, or if you're having a lot of caffeine throughout the day. Caffeine can also affect the quality of our sleep. So it can decrease the amount of those rapid eye movement stages that we're having, which are the most restorative stages. And so maybe even though you're still getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep with caffeine, maybe now those 7 to 8 hours just aren't quite enough, right? Great comment here by someone in the comments. So I find it hard to get up as the days get darker in the AM. So there's a lot of really interesting sleep information that is out there about timing your sleep to the kind of to the sunlight. So when it gets dark, you're starting to go to sleep. When it's light, you start to wake up. It's not the most practical thing because right now, or at least in the winter for us, it may not start to get light until 8 and we already have to be out the door and going to work. So some things that you can do for that is if it is darker in the AM, you can get an artificial sunlight, so an actual UV light in your room and put that on at the time that you're supposed to wake up, which can help stimulate that same relationship that we have with the sun in our room. So there are certain things that we can do to help us out in that sense. Okay. So in terms of having caffeine, really try and monitor how that is affecting you. Try a few days where you don't have caffeine and see how you feel. Try, a little bit less caffeine or putting a time cap on it. So after noon, I do not have caffeine, and see how that is making you feel. See how that's impacting your sleep. So alcohol is it is a little bit of a sedative. However, so it does make us sleepy. However, it also can impact our actual quality of sleep. So it can block that REM, dream or sleep period, which can reduce all those benefits that are associated with that deep sleep, the rapid eye movement period, right? So if we're not having as much of that, we're not going to have as high a quality of sleep. So although alcohol can help you sleepy, it can help you, relax a little bit, it is actually not benefiting your sleep because you are having much lower quality sleep, right? Alcohol can also increase the amount of alert signaling chemicals. So the chemicals that are responsible for our flight or fight response. And so that can, maybe you find yourself waking up a little bit more when you have alcohol. It can result in some fragmented sleep, which again is going to overall result in a poor quality of sleep, right? So that is a little bit of why alcohol can be an issue. It is important to monitor your own alcohol consumption. So a glass of wine may not have an effect on you. It may have an effect on you. So really monitoring, again, same with caffeine, maybe you do a few days without any alcohol at night and see how your sleep is, see how you feel the next day. It's a great experiment to do both with caffeine and with alcohol to really gauge how these substances are affecting your sleep and your overall ability to feel refreshed, regenerated, energized, all that good stuff. Okay. Of course, it is important to recognize that quality of sleep can be influenced by specific medical conditions, right? So if you do suspect that you're having this, then of course it is important that you consult your doctor or that you go and see a sleep specialist. Some of the examples of those chronic health conditions will be insomnia, sleep apnea, so a stop of breathing while you are sleeping, night terrors, sleepwalking can have an effect as well. There's plenty more that are similar to that, plenty other health conditions that can interfere with sleep. So it is really important to make sure that if you suspect that anything is happening, that is the first thing that you go and do before anything else. It's important that you see a doctor first and really discuss those sleep issues. The last one here, of course, anxiety and stress. So when we are feeling a little bit more anxious, when we're a little bit more stressed, when our brain is working a little bit more, it causes us to feel like we can't really turn our brain off, like we can't get into that relaxed state that is important for to be able to get into that initial stage of sleep. Just out of curiosity, what is your relationship with stress? Do you find you are very stressed? Do you find that you are comfortable with when things do get stressful? Do you have any strategies that you use when you are stressed and trying to sleep? Anything like that? It varies based on the stress, of course. Yeah. So when we are feeling stressed, it's really important to go back and think about our mindset. So it's important to think about how are we viewing the situation that is stressful? How can we view that in a little bit more of a positive light? Is it stress or is it a challenge that can be overcome? So trying to, understand the stress, trying to view it from a positive angle, and sometimes just getting yourself out of an area if the area itself is reminding you of that stress. So Mitch had said moving to another room helps when anxiety kicks in. Absolutely. So even just changing spaces can help us in terms of reducing some of the anxiety, reducing some of the stress. One thing I will say is bed is meant for sleep. And so if you are finding that you are laying in bed, you are stressed, you are anxious, or you're doing something else in bed, then it is recommended actually to get out of that room and to do something outside of your room. So if you're laying in your bed, it's been half an hour, it's been 45 minutes, your mind is still going, a good thing to try is to get out of your bed, go into another room, and maybe listen to some music, maybe grab a book, maybe do some drawing, something that is a little bit calming, but outside of your bedroom. When we associate our bedroom with something like feeling stressed and laying down, it can impact how we go to sleep each night and nights after that. So if you do find yourself, spending lots of time in your bed and not sleeping, it may be good to kind of remove yourself and go to another room to do a relaxing activity for you. So irregular sleep patterns. So a couple things here. Again, waking up at the same time. How many people wake up at about the same time each day? Are we waking up around the same time? So yes, from Monday to Friday, a little bit later on weekends, only during the week. Right.
Sorry, where is the comment section? I can't see the comments.
It should just be in the chat feature. So if you go to the Teams app and then you just open the chat, you should be able to just see some of the comments there.
Chat.
Okay, so it's looking like most people are during the week, but not so much on the weekend. On the weekend, are there things that are influencing your sleep? So would it be social activities? Um, just because you would like to stay up later? What is kind of causing that sleep schedule to change on the weekends? If it is with a social situation, I do challenge you to take into account about how the sleep schedule, how those social activities would affect that sleep schedule that you have, how it affects you the next day, and what might you be able to do to help yourself maintain a more regular sleep pattern while still enjoying the social activities. So could you go to the social activity but leave at an earlier time to make sure that you're feeling good, you're feeling restored, energized, and ready to go the next day? So thinking about those social situations, and at the same time doing those social situations or social activities in a way that also supports your sleep, right? So of course those one nights, where there's a big social event, that's okay. But if it is something that is happening every single weekend, maybe it's time to sit back, reflect, and see if there's something that you can do where you're still having that social event, but maybe you're just leaving a little bit earlier, so that you can best care for yourself as well. So waking up, going to bed, evening routine. What are people doing at night? Anything before bed? Reading, that's a great one. So reading, you may go in the shower, you may have a bath, you may listen to some music. Sometimes some yoga or stretching, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Stopping housework a little bit before going to bed. Yeah, so taking some time to just relax, regenerate, before getting into bed for sure. Absolutely. Staying off the phone. Yes, for sure. So staying off the phone can certainly be helpful. As even when it is on the blue light feature, it is still a stimulant and stimulating our brains, stimulating that activity, which can be a challenge. So staying off the phone, doing some light yoga, something that is relaxing. So within that 30-minute period before bed, really taking time to unwind, go away from anything that is causing your brain to work. So that can be even, not, doing something that is mentally stimulating can also sometimes not be the most helpful thing. So this is the time for you to kind of just be there with yourself, relax, and try and get into this state of, I am going to bed, I am going to relax, I am done for the day. So we're back to this caffeine, yeah. So yes, no, and not sure. If you're not sure, or if you are a yes, try limiting caffeine for a few days. See how you feel. See what happens with that. Okay, so we went through all the health conditions here and the stress. So Again, improving sleep quality. We talked about sleep schedule. I'm going to talk a little bit about eating before bed. So we talked a little bit before this. Has anyone ever had something before bed and been unable to sleep? Has that happened? Maybe something sugary, maybe just had a giant meal. So similar to, while we're trying to slow down our brain, we also want to slow down our digestive system. So eating within an hour before bed may impact sleep. Also, eating things that are high in sugar, caffeine, alcohol content, those can all also affect how long it takes us to get to sleep and the quality of our sleep. Having things like a small glass of milk, cottage cheese, something else with a little bit of protein in it can be helpful for sleep. Almonds have been thought to perhaps be a little bit helpful for sleep. It is also a very personalized experience. So there may be some foods for you that keep you up. So for me, if I have spicy foods, I just don't feel great at night. For other people, it may be okay. Things like a non-caffeinated tea may be helpful. Again, like I said, milk, anything with leucine in it or tryptophan that can help us feel a little bit more sleepy. Turkey actually has a lot of tryptophan in it, which is why after Thanksgiving you may feel a little more sleepy. That could be both from just the sheer quantity, but also the turkey has a lot of tryptophan in it. So making sure that you are trying to stop eating anything big within an hour before bed. And if anything, choosing something that is going to help you get to sleep. So something like milk or another beverage or small snack sized of food that will help you sleep. Again, we're just trying to slow everything down, including your digestive system. Limiting screen time, which we talked about. So screen time, when we are looking at a screen, light is coming into our eye. Darkness is something that can actually help naturally release a hormone called melatonin, which can help you stay kind of in tune with your sleep routine. It can help you fall asleep. So having that darkness can actually help you feel sleepier. To the comment that said, I'm sleepy in the morning, or I find it harder to get up when it's dark in the morning, this is why. So having that UV light in your room could actually be a little bit helpful for you from a physical, biological standpoint, right? So daily activity, making sure you're getting enough activity and not too close to your actual sleep time. So making sure you're getting that recommended, 20 to 30 minutes of activity every day and trying to reduce the amount of time you're sitting. So being a little bit more active throughout your day can be helpful in promoting healthy sleep routine. A couple other things to note here. So all of our sensory information as well. So all the sensory influences that we have. Just a few other things to note. So temperature, cooler spaces do help promote sleep. So keeping it a little bit more cool in your room, about 18 degrees Celsius is where it's recommended to be able to help facilitate sleep. Darkness, we talked a little bit about, so making sure that it's nice and dark in your room. And then touch, sounds, and smells. So this is subject to change with everybody. They are all worth, in my opinion, trying. So in terms of touch, we had a comment earlier, the heavy blanket or the weighted blanket can be helpful in promoting sleep. In terms of sound, things like white noise, brown noise, or just light music in the background can help some people. For smell, one of those diffusers with a bit of lavender or another essential oil can again help to improve your ability to get to sleep, can help improve your ability to relax. so that you can then get to sleep and hopefully get a little more sleep and a little better quality of sleep. Okay. All right. So for these last 10 to 15 minutes here, are there any questions on sleep at all for us today? Anything about sleep, about nutrition and sleep, how you can make a positive difference to your sleep habits, anything at all? You can certainly unmute yourself if you'd like, or you can put a comment in the chat if you'd prefer, or just post the question onto Menti.
I have a question. I still can't find the chat, but so I'll ask the question. How about taking nap? Is a short nap okay? I know a big nap usually doesn't help me at night, and I can't sleep well. But I find short naps sometimes refreshing. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of naps, generally speaking, we don't necessarily want to get into that that REM stage too much. So that REM stage, it lasts 90 minutes. The first 3 stages of sleep can help us to be able to feel a little bit more energized. It can help us just relax our body. The REM sleep, either we want to complete one full cycle of sleep, so that whole kind of 90 minutes, but you're right, it can impact our ability to get to sleep earlier or not go into that REM sleep. So that first 20 minutes, you may have heard of the 20-minute power nap. That's kind of what it is. You're not quite in a full sleep, but you're also getting a little bit of relaxation from those benefits. So yes, to a short kind of power nap. If you're going for the whole kind of one cycle of REM, that may be helpful if you're sleep deprived. So if you really haven't gotten enough, but you're right that that long of a sleep can impact our ability to get sleep later in the day. The short kind of 20-minute power nap, that likely won't have an impact on our sleep for the rest of the day. Has anyone ever had a nap before, woken up like within maybe an hour period and just felt exhausted for the rest of the day? That's me. So you may just be cutting into that REM. You may be waking up during that, or you may have just not fully completed your cycle of sleep. So your brain's like, why am I awake right now? Any vitamins or minerals that help with sleep? So yes, in general, what I would say is in terms of actual vitamins and minerals, as long as you're getting an adequate amount of all the vitamins and minerals in a well-balanced diet, you should be getting enough for what is required for sleep. In terms of proteins, so that would be tryptophan and leucine that are important for sleep. And that can be consumed by just having a wide variety of proteins in your diet. So either different vegetarian sources or having different meat sources or a little bit of both, which will help you to get the tryptophan and leucine. In terms of actually taking a supplement for like a vitamin or mineral supplement for sleep, probably not going to make a huge difference as long as you are getting your recommended daily amounts of vitamins and minerals throughout the day. So for example, if you're getting enough magnesium through food sources, then taking a magnesium supplement probably won't improve your sleep that much. If you're not getting enough magnesium, and I'm just using magnesium because that's the example used, then it may impact your sleep. So my recommendation is to not jump to supplements. It's to take a look at your diet from a whole and see how you can get a well-rounded diet that is going to be more effective for sleep than just focusing on taking a specific supplement. In terms of melatonin, so first of all, whenever trying melatonin or taking any supplement like a vitamin or mineral supplement, pass it by your doctor in case you are on any medications or you do have a condition. melatonin is helpful for some people. It essentially is a hormone that facilitates sleep in our body. So, sorry, in our brain. So it is going to help us feel more relaxed and help at least kickstart that sleep process. I have personally had benefits from melatonin. It doesn't really affect your sleep quality. It just can help trigger that first initial relaxation state. Again, melatonin does interact with certain medications, so please make sure you're talking to your doctor before starting that as well. But that's a great question. Anything else? Yeah, so when your mom or dad told you to have a glass of milk before bed, it's because the protein that is in milk, which is tryptophan, is one of the proteins. There's many proteins, but one of them is tryptophan, and that can actually help with sleep.
Is that only in dairy milk, probably?
Yeah, but it's also, so it's in turkey, it's in oats, it's in tuna. Would be the main ones, grains.
Oh, so maybe oat milk, possibly?
I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah.
So just like almond milk, it's oat milk doesn't actually contain a lot of oats with what you're drinking. So a lot of water. But I see where you were coming from. Yeah, the other interesting thing to try with sleep would be, having a warm bath before bed. When we do have a warm bath, a lot of the heat is actually radiating outwards through our body, which cools down our core. And when we are sleeping, as mentioned in the workshop, our core body temperature decreases. So that can actually mimic the start of sleep for us, which is why having a warm bath before bed or a warm shower before bed can start to facilitate that sleepiness. So yeah, a small bowl of oatmeal without sugar could be, a small bowl of oatmeal, maybe with a couple almonds in it, could be okay as a nighttime snack. A nice warm and cozy bowl of oatmeal. You have to be a little bit careful with the oatmeal one because yes, although it does have tryptophan as protein, it is not a source of protein. So oatmeal, in the grand scheme of things, has a small amount of protein. The protein that is in that is tryptophan, but it's still quite small. And oatmeal is one that does get digested pretty quickly into our body. Unless you're using something like steel cut oatmeal rolled oats, they're quite heavily processed. And so they can rise our sugar levels quite quickly, which can have a similar effect if you're having a bit of sugar before bed. So oatmeal, theoretically, it does have tryptophan, but the amount of tryptophan you'd be getting in one serving is pretty small, and you would be getting something that is actually rising your sugar. Steel cut oats are better, yes. In terms of nutrition content, in terms of fiber content, in terms of being less processed, steel cut are better. And you can make the best steel cut oats in a crock pot. I'm sorry, you get me talking about food as a nutritionist, I go off, but you can make the best steel cut oats in a slow cooker with a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of nut butter. So good. Yeah. Any other questions for me for today before we kind of head off and go back to our other things? We're all good? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type my email in the chat for you. So it's just kenzieosborne@rxrecourse.com. If you have any questions about this workshop, so this sleep workshop, you can by all means contact me and I'd be happy to help you out with that. As well, as I said before, I am a natural nutrition clinical practitioner. So if you do have any questions about nutrition or need support, you can also reach out to me about that. Some of my services now are covered